At her peak, Heather Locklear had it all: beauty, fame, and the spotlight. But behind the scenes, something was quietly falling apart. She went through 2 broken marriages, multiple rehab stays, and one night, she called 911 on herself. What could have happened? How did America's sweetheart spiral so far, so fast? Let's find out while showing you some of her rare photos. Born into an upper-middle-class family on September 25, 1961, Heather Dean grew up in Los Angeles, California, surrounded by 3 older siblings and a life many would call a dream. Her father, Bill Locklear, was a respected administrator at UCLA, while her mother, Diane, was a production executive at Walt Disney. Childhood weekends were filled with college events, early screenings of the latest Disney releases, and even spontaneous family trips to Disneyland. After high school, following in her father's academic footsteps felt natural. She enrolled at UCLA to study psychology, a campus she knew almost as well as home. But within a year, the comfort had faded entirely. Deep down, Heather felt disconnected, like she was walking someone else's path. After serious reflection, she made a bold, life-changing decision to leave college behind. She traded textbooks for cameras and stepped into the world of modeling. It began with small gigs, magazine shoots, commercials, and catalog spreads. But Heather had bigger ambitions. With a few inside tips from her mother on what agents were looking for, it didn't take long before she caught the right eye at the right time. And before she knew it, television came calling. Heather's first significant role came in 1982 when she joined the cast of Dynasty as Sammy Jo Carrington. The soap opera was a massive hit, and Heather's performance helped make her a household name at just 20. Just as her role on Dynasty was taking off, she landed another iconic part on T.J. Hooker in 1983, playing Officer Stacy Sheridan alongside William Shatner. She was now on 2 primetime hits simultaneously, something nearly unheard of for a young actress in Hollywood. Heather was on fire, but the real explosion came with Melrose Place in 1993. As Amanda Woodward, she played a cunning, stylish executive who could go toe-to-toe with anyone. Heather became the show's star, and for millions of fans, Melrose Place became her show. She seemed to have it all: beauty, talent, fame, and wealth. But the public didn't see the deep pressure and sadness behind those glamorous red carpet photos. Behind the cameras, Heather's life was just as fast-moving. In 1986, she married Mötley Crüe drummer Tommy Lee. It was a whirlwind romance, passionate and messy. Heather was just 24 and was still discovering who she was. She wanted the love that lasted, but Tommy's rockstar lifestyle made that nearly impossible. The relationship unraveled quickly under the weight of infidelity and chaos. By 1993, their marriage ended in divorce. But Heather still believed in love. The following year, she married Bon Jovi guitarist Richie Sambora. This second marriage was different. It felt calmer and at peace. The two welcomed their daughter, Ava Elizabeth, in 1997, and for a while, things felt right. Heather had a beautiful child, a husband who understood the pressures of fame, and a thriving career. But over time, cracks began to show. Fame, long working hours, and parenting stress began to take a toll. In 2006, Heather filed for divorce. The separation was painful. By 2007, the marriage was over. For Heather, this second failed marriage hurt even deeper than the first. She had married as a young bride, hoping for forever, and when it ended, so did her belief that love could be her safe place. Still, she tried again with her hopes high, only to be hurt one more time. But when Heather thought she had faced the worst pain, life reminded her that heartbreak doesn't always come from lovers. Sometimes it walks in wearing the face of a friend. Denise Richards was more than just a friend to Heather. She was family. The two were so close that they were even vacationing with their families. After years of tight friendship, shared secrets, and sisterly love, Denise walked out of their relationship and right into Richie Sambora's arms. It didn't happen after they finalized the divorce, but shortly after Heather and Richie separated. It was as though they were together even before Heather's marriage ended. It was a devastating blow to Heather's faith in people. She had trusted Denise and leaned on her in moments of doubt. And in return, she watched her former friend hold hands with the man she was still mourning. Heather decided to stay silent, but it only made things worse. The emotional weight on her became too heavy, and her inner struggles didn't stay hidden for long. Just a few months after finalizing her divorce, Heather checked herself into an Arizona facility in June 2008. Despite the several speculations that it was for substance abuse, she sought mental health support. Heather bravely admitted that she had been experiencing intense emotions that she couldn't control, and checking into rehab was her way of seeking peace, not escape. At the facility, she underwent therapy that included spa treatments and horseback riding, and began trying to piece her life back together. However, in September of that same year, she was arrested for DUI near Santa Barbara, although she pleaded no contest to a lesser charge. 2 years later, her black BMW hit a no parking sign near her home in Thousand Oaks. Although police found evidence at the scene, they couldn't prove she was driving, so no charges were filed. Then, for a while, things calmed down. But then, recovery isn't as straight as a line. In January 2012, Heather's sister found her unresponsive in her home. Panicky, she made the emergency call. But the ambulances did not arrive alone. Paparazzi came hunting down the tabloid headline they would make out of Heather's story. They waited outside her home with flashing lights that blended with the ambulance sirens. Headlines were calling her unstable, but very few asked why a woman once so admired was now so broken. When Heather was rushed to the hospital, they discovered she had taken a dangerous combination of prescription medication and alcohol. It was never confirmed whether the incident was accidental or intentional, but what was clear was that Heather wasn't okay. It was around this period that her only child, Ava, began struggling with her own anxiety and mental health. Ava was just a teenager at the time. Heather, who had barely healed herself, now had to carry the pain of watching her daughter go through panic attacks and emotional distress. In one public statement, Heather said she wanted Ava to feel safe and loved, but watching someone so young feel overwhelmed by the world was hard. Heather picked herself up and took Ava to therapy. They sat together during panic attacks and bonded on their experiences. This terrible situation turned into something beautiful. It deepened the bond between mother and daughter. However, the actress's turmoil wasn't over yet, and in 2018, Heather faced her most humiliating scandal yet. She was arrested for domestic violence after allegedly assaulting her boyfriend and a police officer during a heated argument. The following year, she was arrested again, this time for battery on a first responder. One of the lowest moments came in 2020 when she was charged with multiple misdemeanor counts and sentenced to 120 days in jail. The court did suspend the sentence on the condition that she complete a residential treatment program and remain on probation. But by then, Heather was no longer America's TV darling, and her name was now likened to chaos more than casting news. Still, there was something in her that wanted to survive. And so in 2020, after years of legal trouble and mental breakdowns, 58-year-old Heather Locklear quietly stepped away from Hollywood to focus entirely on her healing. According to People, she completed her court-mandated treatment program and began working with therapists closely. She also relied on a small circle of friends and her daughter, Ava, who became one of her strongest support pillars. That same year, Heather engaged her high school sweetheart, Chris Heiser. Their relationship, rekindled decades after high school, gave Heather a sliver of hope, proof that life can still surprise you, even after years of darkness. For a while, the story might finally have a soft landing. Unfortunately, by 2023, the two separated again. But perhaps the most heartbreaking moment of all came in 2024. With a touching tribute, Heather decided to share with the world that her father had passed away at the age of 94. Heather's father, Bill, was her biggest fan and closest friend. He supported her decisions and encouraged her to remain focused in an industry full of illusions. She once said in an interview that her father was the person she called whenever she needed advice. Without him, she began to feel unanchored, floating in a world that never truly felt safe. Through it all, Heather's talent was never questioned. Even in her darkest chapters, colleagues described her as one of the most prepared and professional actors they'd worked with. On the set of Melrose Place, she was known for memorizing not just her lines, but the cues of her scene partners. She always arrived on time, ready to deliver. Producers admired her ability to bring edge and charm to even the most complicated characters. She earned 4 Golden Globe nominations in a row, something very few TV actresses ever achieve. Heather may have lost her way personally at times, but to those in the industry, she was and still is a woman whose performance legacy holds up, even when everything else didn't. These days, Heather keeps things low-key. Now age 64, she lives in Thousand Oaks, California, and spends most of her time with her pets or enjoying the beautiful sight of nature. Sometimes she grants interviews where she speaks about trust, her emotions, and the people in her corner. But most of the time, she is with her daughter, Ava, and they share memories of their moments. Though she hasn't officially retired, Heather has said she's no longer chasing Hollywood. For her, peace is more important than roles. Stability is more valuable than attention. She's learning to breathe again. If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll enjoy the one on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you at the next one.